Now, during the Middle Ages, attempts were made to harness the power of text and chant together in a very practical way, really very practical. And the way it was done was to found hospitals which had chapels. Now, these buildings, medieval hospitals, were once very common, and their names linger today like ghosts in our landscape. Spitalfields here in London, at Spittal on Merseyside, at Spittal Hill in Yorkshire. In all of those cases, the word Spittal is simply a contraction of hospital. And a great many of them were founded with little chapels. And it's especially a telling development, I think, in the east of what's now the east of Europe, where these hospitals are founded at the cutting edge of Latin Christendom as it pushes its way into non-Christian territory, the making of Europe, if you like, in the east. And indeed, the favoured dedication for these new hospitals was often the Holy Spirit, a suitably universal choice, don't you think, for houses that were regarded as outposts of the universal church, even though they were located in very local settlements and embedded in a local and perhaps transitory context. And indeed, if it wasn't the Holy Spirit, it was likely to be Nicholas, Mary Magdalene, Thomas, Bartholomew, Lazarus, medieval travellers lodged and patients lodged under the sign of a saint whose name evoked the open road because it was known everywhere. We have many of the charters that indicate the foundation of these hospitals, and you can track them being founded in what's now the East. In fact, it is an extraordinary experience to open, let's say, a medieval set of charters for the area of what is now Eastern Germany. As you turn through the pages and these dated charters appear, you can see what are now famous cities starting up. Oh, look, there's Berlin getting going. There's the first sign of Riga. It really is in some ways, a very moving and uplifting experience to see these foundations being made, and you can track it in the charters when they build castles and they build hospitals. Riga, for example, which of course today is in Latvia, but wasn't in the Middle Ages, had its Holy Spirit hospital while the town was still just a wooden stockade. The work of the bishop, whose other initiative was to create a chivalric order, the Sword Brothers, as a standing army of occupation. That kind of went together. You build your hospital, you bring in some knights, you have a liturgy, you have some knights to restore order or to establish order, and there's an outpost of Christendom. Move on another couple of miles, do the same thing again. Move on, do the same thing again. And that, in a sense, is how Europe is made. And indeed, one of the especially vivid things about this process is that Jurislaus, Jaroslaus, Prignoboris, Mojkot, names like that, which I can't really pronounce, as you can tell, give way to James, John, Paul, Henry, and Bartholomew, biblical and Frankish names that came with the colonizers. I think the making of Europe has left few more intimate traces.